Okay. I think we're good to go here, Donna? Yeah? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Campo. I'm certainly very lucky to be part of the EAFK staff team. Thank you so much for coming. And I found out tonight from Donna Abink that this is the first in-person Life Beyond School we've had since pre-COVID. So awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. I'm going to talk for all of 2 seconds here, and then I'm going to pass it on to the stars of the show. So thank you so much for coming. Welcome. And I'm going to pass it on to Donna Abink and Justin Veenstra, who will be our MCs for the night. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Corey. It's great to see everyone. I just have a couple of just those housekeeping. Everybody wonders, the washrooms in that door over there. And just so you know, I need both hands, but there's an exit here, an exit over in that corner, and behind me here, there's an exit. So if we need to know where the exits are. And I'm hoping that everybody has a swag bag. I think there's some left if we need some. Good. All right. So just wanted to make sure people know that. And I'm Donna Abink. I'm the Transition Planning Coordinator for the 2 boards of ed, and also part of this awesome planning team that put this together. So thank you, everyone that has helped out with this tonight. So I think we're going to now start with the land acknowledgement. So Heather, if you'd like to do that. Thank you.
At Extended Family Kingston, we recognize that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee and Huron-Wendat peoples, as well as the Mississauga and other Algonquin-speaking nations. These lands are a part of the enduring homeland of the indigenous peoples who have lived, loved, worked, and cared for this land since immemorial. We honor the rich history, the living presence, and the vital contributions of all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples in our community. We acknowledge the deep and ongoing impacts of our country's history on these peoples and recognize that these harms are not confined to the past, they continue today. Aligned with our mission to empower people through innovation, inclusive connections, and personal growth, we are committed to nurturing meaningful relationships with the Indigenous people. We strive to create a community where Indigenous voices are heard, respected, and celebrated, and where reconciliation is more than words, it is action. In this spirit, we dedicate ourselves to learning from the Indigenous leadership, supporting Indigenous self-determination, and contributing to a future where all peoples experience justice, respect, and belonging. We encourage all members of our community to reflect on their relationship to this land and to consider how each of us can contribute to ongoing reconciliation, healing, and empowerment.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Justin. I'm going to be your MC for this evening. We have 4 short presentations this evening. The first presentation is with
I'm his helper. It's Krista
Alberton,
and I think you're doing this. And Martha. Yes.
and Martha.
Martha. We're going to do one after the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. So good evening. My name is Krista Alberton. I'm the Manager of Developmental Services Ontario for the Southeast region. Next slide, please. You can go to the next one. Thanks, Karen. So developmental services is the access point for adults to access developmental services through funded MCSS programs. DSO connects adults with developmental disabilities living in Ontario to ministry-funded services and supports in our community, which are a variety of the services that you see here today. DSO confirms your eligibility. It also meets with you to determine what kind of supports and services you need to be successful in your life on a day-to-day basis. You can apply as early as 16. You can access services at the age of 18. And we can look at some some folks that are 15 years, between the 15 and 16-year range. We connect people with resources in the community that may be outside of MCCSS funded services. You can apply directly to our office. Our office is actually located in Extended Family Kingston. We can come to you as well, and we can do it virtually too. Next slide, please. So there are 9 regions of DSO throughout the province. The good thing about this program is it's a portable program, so you can access it anywhere you go in the province. So let's say you are eligible through DSO through us and you decide to move to Toronto region, you no longer have to go through the intake process all over again. You can access services in that region if they're available. So talk a little bit about eligibility requirements. If you have any further questions, Nicole and myself are over here at the DSO table. We'd be happy to answer your questions. So we'll just kind of skim quickly over it. But like we said, you can access services at age of 18, but you can apply at age of 16. And what we're looking for is proof documents, so proof of Ontario residence, proof of address, proof of age, proof of developmental disability. Typically, we see the proof of developmental disability through a psychological assessment or through an IEP. Once you have the disability documents, we will meet with you, go through the intake process. We'll let you know if what we have received will meet the needs of our requirements. If not, we will help navigate to see what we can do to support you to gather additional documentation. We also have 211 that you can connect with. We also have dsontario.ca, which has a variety of resources on the website. We went through the apply. So once you're eligible, we will have an applicant meet with you, an assessor meet with the applicant. In your home, we come to you. You don't need to come to us. And we complete the application package. And what we're doing here is we're really determining what supports you need to be successful in your life and how can we assist you to navigate to those services, in your community. Next slide, please. So this is just a variety of how DSO works with other programs. So some of you may be familiar with the transition from children's services, special services at home. We work with that program. We transition into the DSO. If you're eligible through DSO, you then are eligible for passport funding support. And Heather and Leanne are going to speak a little bit about that today. And then ODSP, we work with ODSP in terms of eligibility. So our eligibility letter is kind of the golden ticket for ODSP. So if you go through us and we determine that you're eligible based on the criteria, you are then eligible for ODSP supports. ODSP is going to talk tonight, so they'll explain that a little bit more. There is still an intake process with ODSP, but it is the letter that you would require to move forward a little bit faster. And then Ontario works as well for some income and employment supports. What does DSO do and not do? So DSO doesn't provide direct services or emergency services, but we do connect you with services in the community that can support you. We do not provide actual houses. We do not provide bricks and mortar, we say, but we will navigate you to services that can help you with that piece. Martha's going to talk a little bit about housing support and how she can help navigate that for you. We don't provide funding directly. We are the application process. Passport provides community participation funding, and ODSP would be your income support funding. This is a really good resource, dsontario.ca and the calendar, so there's a variety of events that are put on there. We also have our information on the EFK website as well. So we usually update all of the programs all of the great things that are happening in your community with different community organizations, so you'll see those on those 2 calendars. And then this is just our toll-free number. We're here. If you have any questions, please come and chat with us. We do have an info@dsoser.com, so if you want to take a picture of that or you're welcome to grab some information here, we'd be happy to connect with you. And if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Martha's gonna come up and say a few words now.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Hi, everybody. I'm Martha Beach, and I'm the Housing Navigator for the Southeast region. I've been in this role since it started, 2018. And I'd like to say we've expanded the role. Actually, when we started, there were 3 of us full-time across the province, 4 part-time. Now we have 9 full-time housing navigators, so we must have done something right to get that. Next slide, please. Before I go into the role of the housing navigator, can you show me how many people here heard of housing navigation before tonight? Oh, not many. So how many have accessed housing navigation? Oh, it's a good thing that I'm here. Okay, so we provide information and resources to individuals and their families and people who care for them on their housing options as they plan to live independently. Next slide. But we do a lot more than that. We don't just provide the resources as a handout like this. We actually do it through a number of ways. We do webinars, we have a housing toolkit, we actually have a budget tool that we created, and we just finished creating these e-learning modules. And I'll tell you a little bit more about them further on. The toolkit was the first thing that we were tasked with doing. And we really wanted to create something different. At the time that toolkits were being created, they tended to be 100-page documents. You started on page 1, you ended. And what we wanted to do was create something different where you could start anywhere where you were at. So you might have already figured out your vision, or you might have your finances figured out, but you may not have thought about how you're going to sustain a plan. So you can just start at that part in our toolkit. We call it a living document. We update it all the time. It should be current. There's links to all kinds of interesting options and opportunities. So really encourage you to access that at that website on the bottom of the screen. Next slide, please. This is the My Housing and Support Plan budget tool. So again, housing navigators across the province worked on this, and we wanted to create something different. We didn't want it to create your simple, here's my income, here's my expenses, and this is what I have left at the end of the month. We wanted to look at what options you might have in the future, and we call it like a what-if document. So you input your information, and then we say, well, what if you did get a subsidy for housing? Or what if you got a job? What would your plan look like? And then to make it even more helpful, we added what we call a 10, 20, and 30-year projection. So you've inputted all your information, and how is that going to look in the future? Is that sustainable? Or you're going to do fine for the first 5 years, but in year 20, you're going to run a huge deficit, and then go back to your budget and say, what can I do today to change that? And it could be getting a job, and again, getting a subsidy. So that's one of the resources we've created. These are the e-learning videos. This is based on the My Housing and Support Plan virtual workshop series. It's a 7-hour workshop series. We hold it 3 weeks in a row, 2 to 2.5 hours each day. It's an awful lot of information to take in. And people have always been saying, can you record it? But we don't record our webinars. We really prefer to have the interaction with people. But what we did do is create these 15 to 20-minute modules or videos. And you can take bits and pieces of that My Housing and Support Plan workshop series and watch it at your own pace. Rewind it, watch it again until you get everything that you need out of it. So we held our first one today to just bring it out to everybody. It's the first time we've shown it, but you can watch them on YouTube. And so we have links to that here as well. These are the webinars that we offer. Sometimes we create the content ourselves. Often we have guest speakers. Our ODSP webinar with John Dunn from the Kingston Community Legal Clinic is really popular. And again, we do these provincially, but we'll have 400 people on a Wednesday night come for that webinar. So he's extremely popular. We also have CRA, Economic Development, something. I always forget, Economic Social Development, Service Canada, they come as well. We'll also do one on the budget. So again, if you're not hooked up with the events calendar that Krista mentioned, our webinars are all in there, but you can also go on my email list. And so if you have a moment tonight to just give me your name and email, I can add you to that list and you'll be notified when we have webinars. Next slide, please. We also do an annual Developmental Services Housing Strategy Forum. We're working on our 4th annual. We usually hold them in November.
November is a big housing month, and so we find that we're really jammed for work at that time. We're instead going to bring it till February or March of next year. But that's always really well attended, and again, if you're on my email list, then you would get notification of that. Next slide. So preparing for independent living, if you take a minute to come and talk to me at the end of that table there, I'll probably ask you if you've applied for rent geared to income housing, and if not, why not? It's not too soon. You can apply at 16, and we have Housing and Social Services over there who will tell you the same thing, and they'll know more about it than I do. I can tell you about the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit and how our sector was given a level of priority. We were able to provide applications, and I think to date, 30 people with a developmental disability received a Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit, and Kingston's one of the few places in Ontario that has prioritized our sector, so that's pretty important. They also have portable housing subsidies, and one of the things I would also ask you about is whether or not you're receiving board and lodge or shelter and basic allowance from ODSP. Next slide, please. Just a little something that's been happening. We also were involved with the tiny homes rental community through Habitat for Humanity. So 4 of those units were offered to people with developmental disabilities. And we meet every month as a group to maintain the security of those tenancies, to make sure they remain stable and secure. And then we meet every quarter with the residents in those units to make sure they're also enjoying where they're living and we're meeting their needs. And what's ahead in 2025? Very excited about the one on the left, Power of Parents, unlocking family homes to create pathways for a community land trust. And what we're trying to do is see where parents are trying to create maybe their own independent group living with homes that they own. But again, there's that question of sustainability, managing the bricks and mortar side of things is difficult, not to mention the support side. We're working with a consultant in Montreal on a family support network initiative to see what people need, what groups need to be successful, healthy, and have succession planning. We're working on podcasts, and we're planning on having an in-person housing meeting here in Kingston this summer sometime as well. And I think this is one of the last things. Ottawa has created a roommate matching site. So we've heard an awful lot about people wanting to look at the possibility of roommates, and how do you do that? It's not just as simple as finding someone to live with. You have to also match, personalities and wants and how you live. It's an Ottawa site, but they will make it available to other regions across Ontario. And then when should you contact your housing navigator? I went through all that. Even if you just want to brainstorm, you don't have to have a reason. You don't have to have a plan. If you just want to brainstorm and talk about what your dreams are and if that could become a reality or what's possible, and even what other people have been doing. So contact me anytime. Here's my information. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say, if anyone needs like a bottle of water, we have plenty, and we also have apple juice and snacks if anyone wants any. The next speaker is Heather Summers and Leanne.
Good evening. It's so nice to see so many people out here spending the evening with us instead of outside, given how beautiful it is. I really do appreciate you. My name is Heather Summers. I'm the Passport Program Manager here at Extended Family Kingston, and this is Leanne, who is our Passport Coordinator. We also have some of our team over there ready and willing to answer any questions you guys might have about passport funding. So what is passport funding? Well, it is a Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services program. The passport funding is helping with adults with developmental disabilities be involved in their communities to live as independently as possible, for providing community participation opportunities, activities of daily living, and person direct planning. The program also provides funding for primary caregivers of an adult with a developmental disability for respite supports and services. Passport funding is annualized funding that reimburses you for your eligible expenses. So the amount that you are currently approved for would be available every year. Our year begins on April the 1st and ends the following March 31st. Any unused funding does not carry over, but your funding does renew the 1st of April of each year. So just like the DSO, wherever you move in the province, your passport funding goes with you. So our region is the Southeast, but there are 11 agencies across the province. So if you do need to move, we would transfer your file and you would have a new passport agency to speak with. So two distinct parties play a role in passport funding, Extended Family Kingston. So we're here to help you with everything. We're your one-stop shop, first contact for any questions, for any help, anything that you need related to passport funding. You're also going to hear Passport One. So that's run by Family Services in Toronto, and it's basically a backdoor banking function process. So you wouldn't call them to ask any questions, they just process the payments and get you paid. So basically, Krista sort of highlighted this, but if you're looking for passport funding or any service in the developmental sector, you will go through the DSO and apply. Once you're determined eligible, they share your file with us, and then we connect with you around passport funding. So right now, anybody who's deemed eligible in Ontario is automatically eligible for $5,500 in passport funding. If you choose to complete the DSO assessment, which is the next piece of interviews, the DSO, like Krista said, can meet you and come into your home or wherever is convenient for you to do those interviews, you may be eligible for more funding. So if you are eligible for more funding, sometimes you're placed on a wait list and sometimes we allocate right away. It's really based on circumstances, but either way, we'll reach out to you to let you know what the result of that was. Annually, Passport can fund up to $44,275 annually. The maximum for community participation is $625 and $1,250 for respite. I just want to say there is that in order to get the respite portion, you do have to have an unpaid primary caregiver. I'm eligible. How do I get my passport funding? Well, welcome. We will reach out to you. If you're under the age of 18, generally we send out a letter a month in advance of your 18th birthday to let you know how to connect with us. We will certainly email and phone you multiple times. Just make sure that your information is up to date with us so that we can connect with you. Once we speak to you, we send some documents that need to be completed within 30 calendar days. And I say that and people go, what? If you don't feel like you can get it done within those 30 days, we can just start the process again, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to wait until we offer it to you again. It's just we recognize families may not have that opportunity. The other thing I'll note is that with Canada Post going on strike again, certainly we can see and accommodate the time that might take to get us back those documents. So you have three choices here about managing your funding. You can administer it yourself. You can use a transfer payment agency, a service agency, or a broker. And basically our transfer payment agencies are agencies that are DS designated, developmental services, like our community livings or our Carrie's Place. Our service agencies and brokers are independent and or private, but you can use any one or a combination of those three to manage your funding.
Okay, so what can I use the passport funding for? So passport funding can largely be used for community participation activities and daily living, or of daily living. So what does that look like? That can look like programs, classes, and supports that help develop independence and social life skills. I hope that's loud enough. So that could include literacy, cooking, managing money, computer skills, assistance with personal care needs, and this would include the fees and supplies necessary for these programs and classes. And then this can look like, in-person, kind of in-class settings, or online and virtual. So participation in community activities and events such as recreation. So this could be going to a movie, going to mini-putt, golf, playing hockey, all kinds of recreational activities. Club memberships, like gym, again, all kind of sports club memberships, provincial park passes, admission to festivals and museums and sports. So pre-employment and employment supports. This can look like skills training, resume development, job coaching, anything really that's going to help kind of grow and gear the individual towards finding gainful employment, and as well as transportation to and from any eligible passport activity. So that can look like transit, mileage, and taxis, which we'll get a little bit more into. So Passport can be used to pay a support worker to help assist the individual getting out into the community to experience all kinds of things. So Passport can be used to pay the worker's hourly wage or maybe a flat rate. It can be used to pay the worker's transportation, the support worker's activity fees, so for example, a movie ticket, and expenses for accompanying the individual during trips. So in some circumstances, hotel accommodations, perhaps they're going to a show in Toronto and spending the night there, and meals as well for a support worker where appropriate. So ticketed live events. A ticketed live event, so that can include anything like music, like concerts, sporting events, hockey games, Jays game, theater, anything that's live. Passport will cover up to $150 per ticket for a maximum of 2 tickets. So one for the Passport recipient, one for a registered support worker, for a maximum of $300 there per event. In some circumstances where a recipient may require 2-to-1 support, we can request prior approval to cover 2 support worker tickets for an event. So admissible technology. So you can use up to $3,000 annually as a maximal reimbursable amount for technology items and services. This is $3,000 that comes off of the regular annual budget. It is not an additional $3,000 on top of that. So examples of technology-related goods and services would include laptops, tablets, iPads, and those accessories. So a mouse, keyboard, speakers, anything you might need there. Cell phone and data plans, internet provider fees, personal electronic items such as Fitbits, printers, Google Nests, repairs and maintenance to any admissible technology item, including supplies and services, warranties, service plans, setup fees, anything like that. Inadmissible technology would be anything kind of video gaming related. So that would include the consoles like an Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, video games, software and hardware like controllers for video game systems. Accessories such as VR, so virtual reality systems, are ineligible. Gaming apps and gaming related subscription services such as Xbox Live, PlayStation Plus, in-game or in-app purchases are ineligible. Television and or cable streaming services, so a physical TV itself would actually be eligible within the technology budget, but the cable services related to that would not be, as well as other streaming like your Netflix, Prime, Disney, Crave, all that type of stuff. It is important to remember that any expense that would go over the $3,000 maximum per fiscal year would require pre-approval, which we'll talk a little bit more a little bit later there. And any technology expenses associated with data or internet plan overages that go over $3,000 would be excluded from the pre-approval process. So there is no exception there with data and internet. Supplies and equipment. So similar to how there's a $3,000 tech category, there is $2,000 maximum that can be reimbursed annually for admissible community participation supplies and equipment. So examples of that would include fitness, recreation, and sports equipment. So that can look like yoga mats, dumbbells, we've seen stationary bikes, ellipticals, again, all within the $2,000. All types of non-motorized watercraft like kayaks, canoes, accessories like a flotation device, all kinds of arts and crafts supplies, safety equipment like helmets, sensory items, repairs and maintenance for all admissible items as well. So perhaps you need a bike tune-up. So a bike, of course, is eligible within the $2,000, but maybe you just want to repair that bike, so that expense is eligible as well. Supplies for courses like books, for example, excluding food costs, and PPE consumable supplies. So that's your personal protective equipment, which kind of was made eligible in light of COVID-19 there. So that's your masks and gowns, and some cleaning supplies like disinfectant wipes and sprays are all admissible. Inadmissible community participation supplies and equipment. So part of that $2,000 category there that is not admissible. So any item that may provide a sensory element but is otherwise inadmissible as per the guidelines. So for example, a rocking chair there certainly could provide some sensory element for lots of individuals. However, it is a piece of furniture, a household item, and would be inadmissible. Items that can function as a physical restraint. Regular everyday clothing, including winter clothing, remain in general athletic wear, including yoga wear, swimsuits, and gym shoes, and adaptive clothing are inadmissible. So transportation. Transportation is eligible whether it's local transit like your city bus, personal mileage, or taxi is all eligible to and from eligible activities, including respite activities, school, employment, volunteer positions. If you're using a personal vehicle, up to 70 cents per kilometer can be claimed. Anything under 70 cents, of course, we see 10, 20, 30 cents, depending on the budget you're working with. A clear activity, so an important note here is that you want to see a clear activity at the end of the mileage in order to make that eligible. So family, friend functions, for example, like weddings and reunions, are not unfortunately eligible activities for which you can claim mileage. So, for example, if you put on a games night, a family mini-putt night, you're going to a museum, there's that clear eligible activity to make the mileage admissible as well. Transportation outside of the recipient's community, such as a trip to Toronto or Ottawa, should be discussed with your passport case support. So the intention of mileage is to be covered within one's kind of community. But of course, there's lots of things in Toronto, like the aquarium, Canada's Wonderland. Absolutely, that kind of mileage is eligible. We would just ask that you run it by us first to kind of make sure that's eligible. Transportation for the following activities is not covered. So unfortunately, family visits, anything related to custody arrangements is not eligible. Medical appointments like doctors, dentists, counseling appointments, etc. We would ask that you connect with ODSP to see what they can cover in that respect. Daily living errands, so shopping, banking, your groceries, those regular everyday things are not eligible activities for which we can claim mileage. Support workers' own drive to and from their home and their place of employment where they're providing support is not eligible. So an important rule there to remember is claiming mileage only when the passport recipient is in the vehicle with you. Costs associated or mileage with personal or family vacations is not eligible, and scenic drives for any purpose is not eligible. So lots of times scenic drives are really great for sensory reasons. You just want to make sure you tack on an eligible activity there again at the end of the mileage so we can claim it. What else can I use passport funding for? So caregiver respite is a really important one, of course. So again, hiring a support worker to provide that break, that relief for primary caregivers. That can be in the home, out of the home, out in the community, evening, days, weekends, whatever is necessary for the family. I believe Heather's going to talk a bit more about person-directed planning and admin, so we can skip that one there. So support workers, a little bit more there. So a support worker can really be any person hired by the person managing funds. It could be a family member, kind of a trusted family friend, neighbor, whoever, as long as you register them with us, and they cannot be either of the following here. So they cannot be under 18, they cannot be the spouse of the passport recipient, regardless of residence. They can't be the spouse of the recipient's primary caregiver, the payee registered on file. They cannot be the primary caregiver, again, regardless of residence. They cannot be the person managing funds, and a support worker cannot be any person providing residential support for financial compensation. So that's what the note there at the bottom is about. So anybody who is receiving financial compensation through the ministry to provide any kind of residential support or arrangement for an adult with a developmental disability cannot also be paid as a support worker. Oh.
Okay, moving along here. Really important to remember is the quality of services and supports. So because Passport is individualized funding, it puts the hiring and the choices that you're making in your hands, which means that you will be hiring people, sometimes even people that you don't know well, that you may be interviewing. So individuals or families who manage their own funding are responsible for monitoring the quality of services and supports. Why developmental services agencies funded by the Ministry of Children and Community Social Services are regulated and monitored, other agencies and service providers are not. And so where organizations are not regulated, there may not be an overseeing body that can hear complaints. And just so you know, if there are complaints, sometimes we'll get support workers calling us asking where their pay is. We're not, unfortunately, able to deal with that. That comes back to the people who are managing the funding and hiring the support workers. So some of the questions I think are important to ask is, what type of support are they going to provide to you? If they're a private worker, have they provided you with a vulnerable sectors check? And will they continue to provide that year after year? Let's just remembering that that check is a point in time. So we want to make sure that people are continuing to provide that, should you so decide that's important. What are the costs of the supports? Are there any conditions related to the provision of the support? What are your responsibilities? Does the service provider have adequate insurance coverage in case a support worker is injured while in your home or they're driving an individual in their vehicle? Does the service provider have references, and do they have a complaint process you understand and you feel confident about? So again, EIFK, passport agencies, we don't vet your workers. We ask you to register them with us so that there's an agreement between you, but I encourage you to have those understandings and agreements with the people that you're hiring. So person direct planning, that's the $2,500 of your annual passport funding that you can use. So it can be used to purchase supports to develop a plan. And that plan builds on the individual's strengths, interests, and identifies their support needs that they and the things that they need to achieve their goals. And so these are often seen in third-party planners. Connectability.ca is a provincial website that has more information about third-party planning, but these are plans that you can actually purchase from agencies as well. Individuals that need help to coordinate their supports, or they may need help with administration, up to 10% of their total funding they can use for bookkeeping, payroll, scheduling, support workers, bank fees to pay for things like a passport dedicated account. Passport funding can also be used to cover applicable employer costs like Canada Pension Plan, Employment Insurance, and Worker Safety Insurance Board premiums. The person managing funding or the caregiver cannot claim the administration fee.
So this is a snapshot here of page 24 of the guidelines, and it's just an example here of some inadmissible categories. But down along the right side is a pre-approval exclusion. So where there's an X, so for example, that red circle there, that means there's a pre-approval exclusion. That means it's inadmissible. There's no exceptions there that can be made. Where there is no X means we can submit a pre-approval because perhaps there is an exceptional circumstance there that we can get that item or service covered for you. So the pre-approval process is fairly straightforward. So what would happen is if you have an item or service you are wanting to seek approval for that's inadmissible, you would connect with us and we'd have that conversation. We can send you a pre-approval form to have you fill out, and you're just detailing what's the exceptional circumstance there, how does it meet the program guidelines and principles, and really what is the barrier without that item or service for the individual to be able to participate in the community. So a committee of 3 passport agencies across the province, except for your own, so us, would basically review that pre-approval form and decide, is there an exceptional circumstance there? Does it meet the program guidelines? And once a decision is made, that would be final, and your case support contact would notify you of that outcome. So how do we submit for reimbursement? So the most important thing is to always remember to keep your itemized receipts, because we do need to submit those with the invoices as proof of purchase. So there are a few ways to submit. You can fill out your personalized invoice form and submit by fax or email directly to Passport One in Toronto. So right here is an example of a cover page of a personalized invoice form. It will have your client code, client name, pay information. In the top left there will have a fax and email address for where you can send your invoices. You can also fill this out and you can drop it right off here at Extended Family Kingston. You can snail mail it in here and we'll send it for you. We also have 2 online submission portal options. So next slide. So we have 2, again, e-filing systems. So Passport e-claim and My Direct Plan, both different options, both have different perks and benefits that you can certainly try out. submitting online is the fastest way to get your reimbursements, so we do definitely recommend you check those out, and certainly connect with us if you have any questions about that. So we have lots of tools and resources on our website at Extended Family Kingston, as well as the passportfunding.ca website. That's a provincial website. There's all kinds of tools, videos, resources, FAQs, invoicing help. If you're new to Passport, all kinds of information, so very much recommend those. New to the Passport provincial website is the Passport Planning Tool, so that's in the red box up there. You click on that and there's 12 simple questions that you can answer pretty quick, and it just helps you to brainstorm all the ways you can utilize your passport funding. So it's going to ask you about your likes and interests and hobbies, the transportation requirements for those, and then again at the end it's just going to give you a list of all kinds of things that you've kind of identified would be of interest. So we are here to help at Extended Family Kingston. We're definitely accessible by phone, email. Drop in here anytime, 8:30 to 4. We're very happy to help. There's a lot of information with the Passport program, so we certainly don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed, and the easiest thing to do is to just reach out.
And I would just add to that, I see people taking pictures. If you want a copy of the presentation, we're happy to send that to you. Just come and see us, and if you give us your email address, we can share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's all right. So, you know what, Justin? Now we have St. Lawrence College, and we've got Becky Tomlinson, and we've got Kira, and we've got Abby. So I think Kira and Abby, you're up first. They're students of the CICE program, and they're going to come and they have a presentation for us.
Hi. Yeah, we're from CIC. If we could please move on to the next slide. Hi, I'm. Oh, you want to go first? Oh, my bad. I'm Abby now.
Hi, I'm Abby. I like to do karate, swimming, and track and field. Some of the courses I took is the ECE and the Child and Youth Care Worker. It helped me be more confident, and now I am coming back to take the ECE course on my own.
Hello. I'm Kira. I like hockey, drawing, and reading, and I took the courses in Vet Assistant. And I came to CIC for the placement experiences. I wanted to get work experience that I wasn't confident in getting. And I took my second year of residence because I was missing out on a lot that was happening on campus. So at first, resident was a little scary. I had never been away from home for very long, but everybody there is super supportive. Everybody there wants you to succeed, and it was well worth it. Well worth it. Favorite part about being in the placement, like I said, placements, and I made a lot of friends.
My favorite part of being in the CIC program was also making new friends. The classes and the placements, I learned how to create resumes and cover letters. I made goals for myself and met those goals. I really enjoyed my placement with the Bayside Montessori School because I got to help kids with their work, and I also got to learn different practical life activities, and they helped me gain more confidence when working with the kids.
All right, I learned the proper way to advocate for myself, as well as updating my resume to make it look much more professional. And I also enjoyed my placement. I had the Kingston Humane Society. I got a lot of more hands-on experience with animals, and I got to really see what procedures look like and how all that stuff goes in, because you learn so much more in person than you do in class. What kind of supports did we get? Learning specialists took notes in the class for us, as well as made modifications and assignments where we needed them.
My learning specialist took notes in the class for me. They also broke down the assignments because when it gets overwhelming, they broke it down one step at a time. Be prepared and make sure you bring all the stuff that you need. for your class and also be on time.
You're gonna hate it, but I'm gonna say it again. Be on time. I'm sorry, it's very important. I didn't think it was gonna matter to be on time, but it really does matter. They're really there to help, and yeah, and just respect that. What did I do to get ready? I got a tour of the school. I was very nervous. I thought the school was huge, and it was huge. But once you get the tour, it makes it seem a lot more smaller. And I live in Napanee, so there is no busing system there like Kingston has. So my mom and me, we took a tour around Kingston. I'm like, wow, look at all these things I've never seen before. But yeah, that was nice.
What I did to get ready to come to college was also I got a tour of the school. And I also got to get my student ID card too. So, yeah.
Well, I feel like that sold our program because that was amazing. Very proud of you guys. They're graduating this year, so they're our new alumni. So what is the CICE program? What are they talking about? So we are a 2-year certificate program at St. Lawrence College for students who have developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, acquired brain injury, or any other learning needs that would require modifications to be successful in a college setting. So our goals, go to college, go to classes, do some homework. So there's the learning, there's the going to placement, getting work experience, and then also building independence and getting that college experience, making friendships. That's kind of all built in. We're an academic program, but we also recognize the importance of the, meeting people and the social connections. So what do we provide? So our students get a learning specialist. So this is someone who goes to class with the students. They take notes for the students. If there's group work, they help to facilitate the class assignments. They can help with the assignments. And then along with that, there's a tutoring session. So there's tutoring sessions for every course that they have where the learning specialist reviews the material. They help with homework. They might study for tests. And they can help with organization or learning any sort of strategies like let's check your email, things like that. And then they can help you to kind of figure out, oh, we switched slides, okay, we're good. No, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. So as a college student, you can expect to, 1, attend classes. That's the number one important thing for success is showing up. Going to tutoring sessions, and doing homework. And we find a lot of students who come to our program are like, well, I never had to do homework. So that's kind of a get ready for homework. Studying for tests and then filling your free time. So you won't have somebody with you the whole time. You might have a couple hours between classes at college and we can show you places that you can go, but you're kind of on your own during that time. So that's your responsibility. So we have 3 different kind of classes. So we have our CICE core classes, and these are for just the CICE students to be in. And so in these courses, you're learning job readiness, communication, resumes, technology, digital skills. So these are for just the CICE students. They're pre-modified classes. And then we have elective courses. So these are courses that occur throughout all the different programs at St. Lawrence College. And so this is where you get your learning specialist with you to attend the classes. And so in these, you're learning new information, you're building skills. And then we have field placements. So we have 3 placements, which are, a placement is like a co-op if you did a co-op in high school. And so you're getting that hands-on workplace experience. So this is an example of a timetable. It looks different than it might in high school. The days are completely different. Classes can start as early as 8, go as late as 9. You might have a day off. You might start a little bit later. But we can help you to set reminders and to make sure that you're showing up on time. And as I mentioned, we value and recognize the importance of the social experience and making connections and friendships. So we have a weekly social society, which is a couple hours a week.
and it's facilitated by learning specialists. It's for CICE students, but the students kind of decide what they want to do. And a lot of the pictures that were in the student slideshow came from social society, so they have lots of fun. Applicant requirements. I am blowing through this presentation. This is normally like an hour presentation in 5 minutes, so please, 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 if you have questions, I'm over there in the corner. Please come and see me. But things that we're looking for in terms of our applicants is there should be a level of independence. So as I mentioned, we do not provide support between classes. Also, when students are going out on placement, we can get them in the door. We can spend about an hour on the first day showing them where to go, developing task lists, but there's not one-on-one support in the placement. So we're looking for a level of independence for that. Participation. We're looking for the students to want to be at the college, to want to be in class, to want to participate. Safety is important. We're an academic program, so we want to make sure that the students are able to be safe on campus. Transportation. We do not provide school buses. So students need to be able to get to college, to get to their placement on their own, whether they drive, get a ride, take the bus, any of that, but that's a requirement. Communication. All forms of communication are valid. We don't care how you communicate, but there needs to be a level of communication so that when you're sitting in a class, you know, you're receiving the messages and that you can also give us messages. So to do an assignment, to ask questions at placement. We're looking for a level of communication there. And then lastly, digital skills. We're in the world of technology. We use email a lot. So, you know, general basic digital skills, so being able to open up your email and send one, opening up a Word document, things like that. Getting ready for college, I have a great Skills for Success document over there that you can refer to, and I've given it to Donna. It's on our website, but really, if you can get a co-op, if you can volunteer, if you can work, that's kind of the #1 recommendation to get ready. Learn to take the city bus, do homework, and learn about yourself. What are your interests? What are your goals? And the application process is long, it's lengthy, but that's part of my job, is to help with that. So I'm not gonna go over it too much here. The first step would be to reach out to me. And there's my contact information.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is the Ontario Disability Support Program, and we've got Tina Moon, and Tina's going to come and talk to us about ODSP. There we go. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I am Tina. This is Sarah. We're both from ODSP, caseworkers in the Kingston office here. So we're going to talk about what the social assistance programs are in Ontario, what ODSP income support is, how we deliver the program, who receives ODSP, who's eligible, the application process, and working well on ODSP. So there's 2 social assistance programs in Ontario. Ontario Works provides financial and employment assistance to help people move towards paid employment and independence, where ODSP provides income support, benefits, employment supports to enable people with disabilities and their families to live independently in their communities. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I know the information, but I don't present very often. So we also, when you receive ODSP income support, there's also additional benefits. So you prescription drugs, dental, vision, medical transportation for appointments, a lot of employment-related benefits, assistance for special diets, diabetic supplies, everyone. So we do have additional information at our booth here too. We're at the first booth there. So to be eligible, you need to be a resident of Ontario, be 18 or older, but we do recommend starting your application 6 months prior to turning 18. In financial need, and that is the applicant themselves, not the family in general. So just keeping in mind that when we're asking information about your household income, it is for that applicant and not the parents of the applicant who are applying. And then having assets that aren't greater than the limits set out. And then also be deemed to be a person with a disability under the ODSP Act, or be a member of a prescribed class, which we're going to get into here. So determination of financial need, we're looking at the applicant's income, assets, expenses for where they're living, and their family size. So again, their family size, their spouse, their children, not their parents. And then determination of disability or verification of the prescribed class. So you can start your application online. So we recommend 100% to start the application online if you're able to. Parents can start that on your behalf as well. If you're not able to do the application online, there is a contact center that you can call, but you do have to have an email address in order to do that. So anyone who wants to apply but doesn't have an email address, we do have a regional intake team, and we have brochures at the table with that phone number as well. You can find your local office. They're going to redirect you to our intake team either way, but the best way to start your application is online if you can. So if you're receiving Ontario Works, you apply through the Ontario Works office. So individuals, applicants who aren't living at home with their family and need immediate financial assistance, they go through Ontario Works first and start the process for Ontario Disability through the Ontario Works office. So when we're looking at your financial eligibility, we're looking again at the family size. So the applicant, their spouse, their children, their shelter costs, income from any non-exempt sources, and their assets. So your assets are your investments, your bank accounts, property, anything that you would own as the applicant. So if somebody's working, the first $1,000 of net earnings does not affect eligibility whatsoever for ODSP. So there's incentive to be working if you're able to. If there's a non-disabled family member, so a spouse, or if they have an adult child of their own, it's $200 that doesn't affect eligibility, and then we're deducting 50% after that. So if you're looking at assets, so again, your bank account, your investments, if you own property that you're not living in, there's a big list, but $40,000 is the maximum for the applicant. If you're applicant and spouse, it's $50,000, an additional $500 for each dependent. We can also increase the amount of the asset limit if you're saving for a health-related item or service. And there are assets that are exempt from that $40,000. So one of the biggest ones we see is the RDSP. That doesn't count towards the $40,000. Or if you own one vehicle or one home, or your household furnishings, your PlayStation, things like that, that doesn't count towards the $40,000. So under the ODSP Act, a person with a disability is a substantial physical or mental impairment that is continuous or recurrent and expected to last more than 1 year. In addition, it must result in a substantial restriction to a person's ability to work, take care of themselves, or take part in community life. So the impairment, its duration, and the restrictions must obviously be verified by an approved healthcare professional. So if somebody's condition is expected to improve, then there's a medical review date that's set. And unless they are a prescribed class, which I will still get to, they must go through an adjudication process to determine if they qualify for ODSP. So the prescribed class, so if somebody is receiving Canada Pension Plan or Quebec Pension Plan disability benefits, they don't have to go through the medical process. If you're age 65 or older, not eligible for old age security, so that's usually newcomers to Canada. And anybody eligible for services under the services and supports to promote the social inclusion of persons with disabilities. So DSO, to make that easier, Developmental Services Ontario is a prescribed class for ODSP. So you would only have to financially qualify and confirm that you're eligible for DSO. And then also if you had been receiving family benefits back in 1998, that's a prescribed class. And receive it while you're in a provincial regulated home. So yeah, there's psychiatric facilities, things like that. So the Disability Adjudication Unit is a centralized unit that reviews the medical information. So if you're not prescribed class, so if you don't have DSO, then we have the Disability Adjudication Unit who determines whether or not you're eligible medically for the program. So as local ODSP staff, we refer the applications to the DAU. So we first confirm that you're financially eligible for the program, and then we provide the disability determination package. That includes the health status report, activities of daily living. So those are two for the health care professional to complete, and then a self-report form and a consent to release medical information. So the standard for the disability adjudication unit to make their decision on your application is 90 business days. In general, it is a lot quicker than that. They are, once you get to that point, they are making their decisions within that time frame. So as an ODSP caseworker, once that decision is made, we are able to grant your ODSP funding within 15 days of that decision. It is basically that right now, as far as granting it after a medical decision is made. We also meet, so after your ODSP file is granted, within 3 months, there's a welcomed ODSP meeting that we review all of the program benefits, the prescription, drug, dental, all of that's covered, as well as employment and benefits that way, and then your rights and responsibilities. So your responsibilities as far as reporting any changes moving forward. So ODSP, I'm working. So there's lots of supports that ODSP offers to foster employment. So in Kingston, we are an Employment Ontario service transformation site, which means all of our employment activity is through Employment Ontario. And so a lot of it used to be based in our office, but now it's outsourced through Employment Ontario. So we'd be referring you to Employment Ontario agencies in order to receive the employment assistance, which are the community-based service providers that have the expertise in working with people with disabilities and employers. And then for any non-disabled members of the benefit unit, so if somebody does have a spouse that doesn't have a disability, they receive their employment assistance through the Ontario Works program. So there are no rules prohibiting a person from working while they're receiving ODSP, and so we do have a lot of benefits that help. So while it is one factor considered by the disability adjudication unit and part of the application process, the Act does not say that you have to be unable to work in order to receive ODSP. So if somebody is attending post-secondary school full-time, any earnings that they make are exempt from being deducted from ODSP. So before, I had mentioned there's $1,000 that somebody can make while they're working before there's any deductions. So if you're attending post-secondary, the sky's the limit basically, as far as there's no deductions whatsoever. If you have childcare costs, then we deduct less based on how much you're paying for childcare. And disability work-related expenses can also reduce the amount. So if you have specialized transportation or things that you need on the job as an employment expense, you can claim those, and then we're deducting less at the end of the month as well. We have an employment startup benefit. So once in a 12-month period, you can receive up to $500 for anything that's going to help you towards employment. So that could be with volunteer work, it could be with going to school, it could be anything that you feel is going to get you towards employment. You can apply for the employment startup benefit for that. So eligible members are the client, like the recipient, the spouse, dependent adult who is not attending secondary school, dependent child who's received their diploma. So earnings of full-time students are not deducted from ODSP. So OSAP, if you receive OSAP for educational costs, local transportation, childcare, they're all exempt and they don't impact ODSP. But if you do receive OSAP for living expenses, that is what we provide for as well, and so that does get deducted over the term of the school year. So ways to reach us. So you can reach out to the local office. We're at 1055 Princess Street. We have brochures with our phone number there as well. The ministry website has all local phone numbers as well. Signing up for My Benefits, we also have cards for My Benefits. It's when you're starting your application or if you're already in receipt of ODSP, it is a quick and easy way to see all your statements, see all your payments, communicate with your caseworker. It's highly recommended. So again, we have the information on how to sign up for my benefits, and additional program information is available online. Thank you.
Okay, so now, Justin, we have a video.
Yep. Yes, we have a video.
Her name is Claire.
My name is Claire and
Oh, there's Claire.
grade 12 at Kingston Secondary School. I am also part of the School to Community program, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So, let's dive in. My favorite way to get ready for life after high school is by doing co-ops. Right now, I'm doing one at Molly Brent in the special education classroom, which is helping me get ready for being an educational assistant. I have learned how to communicate better with students who cannot communicate themselves, how to adapt expectations and activities to their needs, and develop strategies for when things don't go as planned. Another thing that's helped me get ready for life after high school is volunteering. I volunteered in an art camp for a total of 148 hours and worked with kids ranging from 8 to 6 years old. I was able to learn them on their projects and work alongside them as they went. The last thing that's gotten me ready for life after high school is Special Olympic sports. This has helped me become a good team player, be there for my friends, and accept goals gracefully, as well as just having some fun. With all that being said, when I'm done school, what I plan to do is attend St. Lawrence, become part of the CIS program, and start my pathway to becoming an educational assistant. I hope that you've enjoyed my after-school plan and that you have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.
All right, well, I would like to thank Justin for helping me out here. And so I'm just going to have some closing remarks, Justin. So thank you very much. I guess we're going to thank our presenters. And our team that put this together, and all of our exhibitors. They're all waiting. So thank you so much for joining us for this part. And you're welcome now to go around and check out all the different exhibits and grab yourself a snack. And thank you all for